Pretty there, citizens. This is Cargo. And I'm playing some Resistance 3 in the background, as you can see. Oh, how I love Resistance 3. Nothing will probably replace it until Starhawk comes out, which is surprisingly close. Beginning of May, that's going to happen. But this was a typical game right here where I join in, and of course it's halfway through the game, and the team I'm playing, where the team I join is losing badly, and that's how it always works. There's rarely a situation where I join a winning team, but that's just kind of how it is across all video games. So I did alright the first time, but we lost pretty badly, and then we were able to pick it up the second round. So that's what's going on in the background. But anyways, I thought an interesting topic would be game value, because now before you get bored and click away, just hear me out, because I think video games are some of the hardest things to actually assess how much value they have. Because, for example, when you buy a song, you're like, oh, well, this song is obviously worth 99 cents. Like, it's not that much money. Like, if you buy it for 99 cents, you're going to listen to it like several times, assuming that you bought it and you like it. When you go to a movie, you know, you're like, alright, well, the movie may not be worth $10 by itself, but the fact that I get to see the epicosity of this movie on the big screen makes it worth $10 for me. And it pretty much goes for anything. You know, when you buy a car, you're like, well, this car is going to be, the price I pay for it is going to be worth all the miles and I can get on it when I'm driving to work, the freedom I can have with it in my free time, and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to games, it's really, really difficult, because for example, I'll find myself being like, wow, I really like this game, but I'm not sure whether it was actually worth the price I paid for it. Like, I like the multiplayer, but I don't really like the single player, or the opposite. I really like the single player, but the multiplayer is kind of stupid, and I wish I hadn't had to pay for that part of it. And so, and even if everybody even if people like a game, they both like the multiplayer and the single player. If the game has multiplayer and single player, it can differ among people, like how much they actually value the game. Now, how I typically value my games is, it's pretty much $1 per hour of entertainment is what I aim for. So when I buy a $60 game, I am buying it on the assumption that I will be paying $1 for every hour of entertainment or less. And so, of course, I assess my video game purchases by whether I think that particular game will offer it. So that's probably why I'm not very big on single-player games, is because most single-player games nowadays are, you know, 10-hour campaigns if you're lucky, 20 if it's a particularly extensive single-player game, and then, of course, the RPGs you could get 60 or more hours out of. But it's kind of, I don't know, the single-player games are not that good lately, so that's why I haven't been buying games because of single-player. I've been buying games because of multiplayer, because multiplayer games, I can typically meet my quota of gaming happiness, which is $1 for every hour of entertainment. And I think that's a pretty good measurement, $1 per hour. Or less. I mean, obviously, like on MAG, I had almost 500 hours, and I paid $60 for the game, and then probably another $20 for 2 DLCs. So, you know, $80 divided by about 500 hours. Like, that's a pretty good price per hour. That's what we'll call it from now, price per hour. That's a pretty good price per hour for any game. And, of course, the games that you love the most typically have pretty good ratios like that. Where was I? I totally forgot what I was talking about before. Single player and multiplayer? Oh, no. I know what I was going to say. But $1, again, is pretty arbitrary. Like, if you make a lot of money, then maybe $2 for every hour of entertainment is reasonable for you, because you only need to get 30 hours out of your $60 game to feel like you've gotten enough out of it. And of course, maybe if you only can afford a game every once in a while, which is, you know, the vast majority of people, or they only have, you know, a limited number of hours to actually play video games, then they might want to have their price per hour ratio a little bit lower, under $1, like try and aim for 75 cents or something. And that's totally reasonable too. So that's why my measurement is kind of arbitrary. But I think you can pick what you think is a good, you know, kind of a good ratio, and then when you look at games, assess whether you think you'll be able to get that many hours out of the game for what you pay for it. And make sure to remember DLC content, because a lot of people forget DLC content. So make sure you always remember to add the price of DLC that you're planning to get or you have gotten when you're doing these kind of assessments. But again, like, that's a very, very arbitrary way to judge the value of video games, because maybe you played Kingdom of Amalur and you played 80 hours of it, but in the end you just came away feeling like, you know, it just wasn't your thing and you could have spent that $60 better. So price per hour of entertainment is not the only way to go about judging a game. I use that measurement because typically I pick games that I know I'm going to enjoy. Like, I read up on reviews. If I can get into the beta, I get into the beta. I ask my friends who already have it, and that kind of stuff. So generally, that is usually good enough for me. But if you just like to go out and buy lots of games, if they look decent, that won't be the only measurement what you'd want to go by. And that's why valuing games is so hard, is because there's so many different methods for purchasing games, like I said. So doing a lot of research and then kind of assess it and then buying it, or just buying it and then assessing it later. So yeah, I don't know, it's just really difficult, I think. And I'd be interested in finding out what you all think of my method of assessing a game, and I'd like to know what your methods for assessing a game are. Because, I mean, for movies, everybody has pretty set standards. They may vary among genres, but that's not any different with video games. But it's, you know, if the movie has good acting and a decent plot, then it's rated well. As opposed, where in video games, there's a lot more metrics, in my opinion. Such as, you know, the enjoyability, the replayability, how many hours you can put into the multiplayer, like how long the campaign takes, that kind of stuff. So that's also why it's difficult to look at reviews of games when they come out. Because there are so many metrics, and reviewers rarely hit every single metric that is important to a game. Because, like the metrics I mentioned earlier, all of those are part of what makes a game good. And then, of course, it's the personal preference, like the weight, essentially, you'd put on each of those metrics that kind of make your decision-making distinctive from somebody else's decision-making. And of course, none of this includes your basic distinctions between genres and, you know, subgenres of games. And of course, that divides people up even more, where they like RPGs, and then some people, well, they like RPGs, but they want to play MMO RPGs. And then, of course, there's the first-person shoot, well, the shooter genre, and then there's the first-person, third-person, tactical, and all those different genres. So that subdivides it even more. So not only are there the finer points that we've been talking about, or the finer metrics that we've been talking about, but there's also just your general separations between types of video games. But going back to my price per hour, I just calculated some of the price per hours of the games I've enjoyed the most. So like in MAG, I paid 16 cents for every hour of entertainment. BF3, I played 34 cents. R3, Resistance 3, I paid 88 cents so far. In Amalur, I've paid 70 cents per hour of entertainment. So I think that's pretty good, but of course it depends from person to person, and you can make your own judgments based on your own situation. But thanks for watching, keep calm, and super champion. Oh, damn!